So you're right that we invest in a practice, um, and we invest in it at a deeper level than we even understand or know. One of the things that I can use as an example of that was something that happened to me between getting out of high school and getting into university, because when I first went to university, I was majoring in music, not musical education, but a bachelor's degree in uh, Bachelor of Arts in Music was what I was signing up for. And that program required that I be able to play the piano. And so I had to sign up for 2 years of piano classes, which I didn't want to do because I'd already haven't had 7 years of weekly piano classes anyway. And so they allow this to take an exam, and I took an exam and played several pieces, but one of them I'd gotten screwed up. Not that I failed to be able to play it in front of them. I didn't freak out, but rather what I was doing was playing it wrongly. And I think that that pissed off this particular professor, because there's no way that the Chopin waltz that I was playing for him would have been capable if somebody was in the program with no piano lessons and took 2 years of piano classes at university. There's no way that they'd be able to play this piece of music anyway.
Mm.
I was playing it, but I was playing it wrongly. The reason that I was playing it wrong was because the teacher that I had didn't know how to play it. She was a piano teacher. She'd gotten her degree in musical education, and she's out teaching me these classics, these waltzes and things like that. And so I failed that test. But with a reprieve, I decided to get a good teacher, and I happened to have known the right guy. You know, things kind of fall in place. And the guy that I went to lived in Rockingham, North Carolina. It was quite a trip away from Dillon. And I had done a musical you know about camp, like Bible camp and boot camp. Well, I had a music camp at the university in Rockingham, North Carolina. And one of the things that we did was we had to be part of an audience to listen to this guy play for his PhD. And I noticed him. And so I contacted him. I found out how to contact him, told him the situation. And he says, "Yeah, I'll help you with that Chopin waltz." And what he had me to do for most of the time that I was with him was unlearn it. I had to unlearn that piece of music. And what he had me to do was to go through, you know, the arpeggio to where well, he wouldn't let me do it like that. It was that I had to do it with the wrong fingering, with the wrong timing, keep changing it back and forth and doing it slowly. That I had to actually unlearn the way that I was doing it by doing it a number of ways wrongly. And then he started me doing it correctly with the right, actually very slow, not the same tempo, but the right phrasing. And then I was able to learn that piece of music. By the way, the actual name of it, if you want to look it up, was Waltz in C sharp minor. It looks like an easy piece, but after the trio, it gets really complicated. So anyway, this is an example, but I have other examples of when we learn something wrongly. It takes a lot of undoing before we can learn to do it right. It would have been better if we'd have never learned it in the first place.
Mm.
And I can think of an awful lot of stuff that's like that, and you can have one with your practice. When people practice the Mahasi method, they will get involved and let us say practice wrongly. get a dark night of the soul and all of that, and then when they run across the correct method, the correct practice, they really like it, that they can see it, but then they will still cling to their old way of doing it.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. Why? Because we built it up as a habit. And so that's how you can practice this, is by when you catch yourself doing it the old way, you can say, aha, I caught it, and make a change immediately. Because you're going to have that over a period of time. I mean, years from now, you'll wind up practicing wrongly again. The thing to do every time is to catch it. Aha, I see that. And the favorite way that they do it is, I see that dukkha, and that dukkha is related to this dukkha, and this dukkha over here, and where did that stuff come from? And then we just, plow right into the dark night of the soul, time after time after time.
Right.
Instead of, as soon as you see that you're going off into that dukkha, you say, aha, I caught you.
Yeah. There's a certain kind of bravery that's involved in that for me, because sometimes this dukkha is quite alluring. It's like, no, there's something here, maybe you should pursue this, maybe you should. And then you always wind up just hitting your head against the wall and...
Mm-hmm. Right, that old plan of, oh, well, we're supposed to pursue that. We're supposed to look at it deeply. You've heard my story about walking down the sidewalk, and right in front of you as you're walking, there's a dog turd.
Yeah.
And you Mahasi guys, you want to pick that turd up and take it to the kitchen and start looking at it. There must be something here. Maybe there's a peanut in there someplace or a diamond or something. So that's very, very common. It's built right in to our programming. And I could also go so far as to say that often it's a belief. Like, for instance, what you said, the belief is that there must be something in there. It's worth pursuing.
Yeah.
That, in fact, that's what happens with, okay, here's an example. Have you ever heard of the term pack rat?
No.
Where people don't throw things away. There must be something useful or valuable there. My sister, by the way, was a pack rat.
Oh, like a hoarder.
Yeah, a hoarder. That's another word. Okay,
Yeah.
they hoard stuff. Why? Because they think someday this thing may be useful. I remember walking into the storage bin, in late 1970s. I had been away from home for many, many years. And I walked into this shed, and there were at least 5 different old, unworking, unuseful tape recorders from my dad's and my time in high school. And my sister kept all of that stuff. She wouldn't throw it away, thinking that it's nostalgia, or when she sees it, she thinks of her daddy fondly or something like that. But the fact is it's taking up a whole shelf. I mean, those tape recorders in the old days, they were as big as a laptop computer. Until you put the reels on, and then they were even bigger than that. Okay, so that idea of the hoarder is the idea that something is useful in there. Look how much time and effort I spent on doing it. There must be something valuable in there. And so at least I was lucky enough not to have the psychological problems. What I had was the neurological problem of unlearning that piece of music. I could have also had the psychological problem. Well, I liked the way I played it. Instead of recognizing that I was going to lose that. I mean, I'm going to have to take 2 years of piano lessons I didn't want and didn't need because I liked to play it wrongly. So we do have that kind of stuff with our practice. And so this is why mindfulness then, or sati, that's the point that we really need, is to remember to not go down that rat hole.
Yeah.
And so you have to remember, you have to keep checking. You have to keep remembering, hey, I'm in control of this and I can feel the way I want to feel right now. I don't have to feel bad because I'm so invested in the bad feelings. I've done that before. I can let it go now. I offer you the word been there, done that. So the next time that Mahasi door opens to you, you can say, I've been there, I've done that.
Right.
And so we can remember that we've got a choice, that we don't have to do it that way. And those mental habits that we have is very, very similar to that fingering technique bad habit that I had playing that waltz. And I could tell that it actually sounded a whole lot better once I had learned to play it correctly by getting the right teacher.
Hmm.
And so that's true in all kinds of things. It's true in martial arts. It's true in baseball. It's true in every sport. It's true in music, and it's extra doubly true in practicing anapanasati, because in that regard, your teacher can't watch you do it wrong and correct you on the fly. You're going to have to do that yourself.
Hmm. Have you heard about I think it's a sutta. Is it similarly about the hemp cloth? Something like that.
There is a sutta where the student, actually, he didn't come to the Buddha. His teachers came to the Buddha to say, this guy can't learn anything. He can't remember the suttas, and he doesn't pay attention. And so the Buddha gave him something very simple to do, because he was too stupid to do what all of the others were doing. And so the Buddha gave him a cloth. And he gave them the instructions that while I'm cleaning my hands with this cloth, I'm cleaning my mind. Well, he had the cloth right there in his hand. So as he fidgeted, he started to focus. He didn't let his mind wander anymore. He started to say, I'm cleaning my mind. I'm cleaning my mind. I'm cleaning my mind. Now, while he was cleaning his hands with the rag would get dirty. He'd have to go wash that. But the cleaning of the mind is what we do, and we have to do it over and over and over again. It's a repetitive thing. We can't expect to do it from the sense of, oh, I've intellectually learned that I can be happy. Because you're not going to remember it when you need it most. This is why we have to practice it, so that we start grinding in those habits, so that we could do it and do it over again and do it over again and do it over again. It's almost like, that we've been doing this stuff with the web page, of going through the data and making sure that the email is right, and making sure that it's got a web, and making sure that the address, and making sure we got a phone number, and making sure that we've got a video. A video. Making sure that we've got a photo. All of that. And then when we click to say save or update that record, we can say, yeah, we got it. We got one more. Woo! Wow, we finished one. Then we go through the next one over and over and over and over again. And sometimes we say, where is that email? Oh, that email is so hard to find, But when we finish that record, yeah, got that record finished. And so we can actually do anapanasati while we're doing any work, especially repetitive work.
Right.
Because every time that we go through that cycle, we can come back and say, yippee-ki-yo-ki-yay, I made another one more. Never mind that I've got 4,000 of them on my list. I did one.
Right.
And so we can cheer ourselves up every few seconds. If you can remember that when you push that update button, just like that guy with that hand cloth, remember, I can clean my mind out. We finished with that one. Let's go to a new one. And we do that over and over again, and then whatever work that we're doing doesn't really tire us out. We can keep going. We can keep doing it. Why? Because we get a little gift. We get a little reward. We get a little, what they call a hit of dopamine every time we do one. Another example of that, by the way, is that while I'm typing, I'm not really looking at what I'm typing. I'm looking at the keyboard and thinking about and then when I look at the text, I recognize that almost half the words are underlined because of a spelling error. Okay, and so every time that I correct a spelling error, I say, "Yeah, I got that one." Instead of saying, "Oh no, I can't spell," and "Oh no, I've got all these mistakes," which is what we would do with the Mahasi method.
Right.
Instead, we say, "Yeah, got that one." Yep, we could do it.
So that's what Anapanasati looks like, even in activities that require more of your motor skills.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and we can apply the gladdening of the mind right then and there. We can change our attitude about, "Oh, I've made all of these mistakes in spelling." We can say, "Oh, I can catch that one. Yeah, I can catch that one." And so we intentionally gladden the mind with every spelling check we do. We gladden the mind with every piece of data that we find on the internet. That's how we would apply the practice. Because it's possible, if you don't watch out, you can do 25 of them in a row and come away feeling bad because you didn't remember that you get a hit of dopamine every time that you make a success. If you'll remember to do that, if you'll remember to congratulate yourself, you got one.
So as long as the thought is wholesome and it pertains to something in the present experience, does it really matter about the frequency of wholesome thoughts? Because sometimes I can really get a hold of that mind and like I'm going for it with the wholesome thoughts. Like I'm really putting them in there, sort of. And then sometimes there'd be guilt around that one. This is a bit over the top now.
Well, no. Say if it's over the top. Wow, it's so much fun to be over the top. Look how much I'm doing. Yeah, always look on the bright side of the moment. Every time we always can find the bright side. Instead of look how many mistakes I've got in the spelling, I've got another dozen to do, I can say, got that one. Got that one. I know how to spell that word. I just left a letter out. Let me go put the letter in without having to ask the spell checker. That kind of thing. I know what I'm doing. I've got this wired. Always take on that bright side.
So why is it that, how have we, as a race, the human race, developed a mind that has the proclivity to be in complete opposition to that?
Yeah, we've been trained. I mean, our teachers trained us that way. That in fact, you could think of it like this, that the reason why people work full time at a job is because somewhere deep in that neural network, we need something, that things are not going our way, that things are broken.
Mm.
I need that job. You know, it comes up in the expression of you got to work to eat.
Yeah.
And the reality is that I don't know anybody who's got a job that doesn't eat, whether they do the job or not. For some
Yeah.
reason, we've been hooked up that you got to work to eat. And I know of millions and millions of, not personally, but know a whole lot about a whole lot of people who don't work and they eat.
Look at the animals.
Yeah, animals don't work. I mean, the dogs, and all they have to do is be friendly and they'll eat. House pets, they eat. They fulfill their function by not doing anything at all other than just being cute. So all you have to do is just be cute and happy, and you'll eat.
This is
And the,
kind of society's like the rights, rules, and rituals, right? Well, you
Mhm.
have to agree, and then you have to work in this sector, or you'll never make it, and these sorts of things.
Exactly. That's all of the rights, rules, and rituals that's been piled on, and most of that learning, most of that knowledge, got into our brains ignorantly. When we
Mm.
were little kids, we did not check out to see whether mommy's orders to us was correct or not. We just took it in. We do what we're told to do. We don't like it, and so we get in the habit of doing what we're told to do and not liking it.
Yeah.
And so it's not good enough. So we got to do it again, and we don't like it. And so we get into that habit of it doesn't matter what happens, I don't like it.
Mm.
And in some cases, it gets really crazy in the sense of I need a vacation. And so people go take 2 weeks off, they go on vacation, and they work so hard at the vacation that at the end of the vacation, they need a vacation from their vacation. Because they worked really hard at their vacation. An example of that would be taking a golfing vacation. So now they got to get out there and play 4, 5, 10 holes of golf every day. Or going to the beach, not recognizing that going to the beach, being on the beach with nothing to do, is okay. But all the stuff that you got to do, you got to get dressed, you got to take your bathing stuff, you got to do this, you got to travel, you got to maneuver through all of the people, etc., like that. And so just going to the beach winds up being a whole lot of work for some people.
Yeah, it's the sort of the obligations that one feels are quite stifling in a way. I noticed this the other day. I sat on the couch and I kind of planned a load of things I wanted to do, and then I thought, I don't want to do them actually. I just want to sit here and do nothing and relax. And then there's just like this tyrant in my brain that goes, "What do you mean stop? You can't stop. You need to go.
Can't
You go,
stop.
run, run."
Up 2, 3, 4, you can't stop. You got to keep working.
You got to justify your
That's a
existence.
really bad habit we all picked up as a child,
Mm,
not recognizing that we actually can relax.
mm.
It's almost like that if we get caught being happy, we'll get punished.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And who will punish us? All the unhappy people who don't want you to be happy because they don't like that.
yeah.
If
I noticed
anybody's
that.
going to be happy, it's them, and that's not going to happen at all. So you'd better not be happy in front of those people. Well, guess what? A couple of them are already inside your mind.
Definitely, yeah. I see that even when I go out. If I now, now I practice, I often feel joyful or expressive, and I go, I better not do that too much. I'm going to be stepping on toes.
Mm-hmm. And all you have to do is just be joyful. Spread your joy,
Mm,
because people will receive the gift of joy. They will do that. But the old idea was is that the kids I mean, you can't be joyful in front of the bully at school. He'll get really double bully.
Mm.
But that's not true anymore. Now you're an adult. And you can go around being joyful and spread that joy to the people that you're around. So times have changed, situations change, and our old ideas don't keep up with the changes. We get behind the times. We do it psychologically, not informationally, in the sense of oh, a fast-moving thing like a doctor. He goes to medical school in 1930, and here it is 1980, and he don't know a thing that the doctors know nowadays. Well, if he'd have been up to practice and learned what was going on, it would have been easy.
Mm.
But most doctors don't. They get stuck in what they know, and then they don't make improvements along the way. And that's especially true with the way that we deal with our work and the way that we deal moment by moment is that we get stuck in the old way of doing it. And it's hard to come out of the old way to do it because it's got both emotional or psychological and neurological aspects to it.
Mm.
As well as the rules. You can't break the rules. You got to keep trugging the way that you've been trugging because that's the way that you were taught. You can't
Right.
make a change.
But things change, and we don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Life quickly sort of scarpers your plans in a way, I've found.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can take advantage of that though if we remember that what the change is our attitude. That's what changes. That when something new comes by, I can change my attitude from the old attitude of, oh, something new came by, to hot diggity dog, something new came by.
Yeah.
So accept change happily, which is a big change for most people.
Mm.
And so this is what I have to offer for you, is that when you get stuck in the old way of practice, remember, I can change that. I can change that. Remember that you can gladden your mind to be very happy that you caught yourself playing with your own crap.
Yeah. That's the attitude change.
And actually change that. To drop that old crap and say, hey, I'm okay. It's hard to remember that we made all that stuff up. We learned it from our parents. They did it. Monkey see, monkey do. Monkey feel bad. Monkey see, feel bad. Monkey do feel bad. But you can remember you've got a choice. And you can employ that choice happily.
Right. Yeah. I think doing it happily is the most poignant part, because in some ways it feels almost like I don't have a choice. It's like the other stuff is so insane. It's like holding a hot coal, and it's like the
Mm-hmm.
only challenge for me now is the Dhamma and the practice. It's like nothing else checks out in that regard. It's strange, but there's a kind of a stubbornness in that. Oh, you mean I've got to practice the Dhamma again? You mean I can't go back to these habits? There's like a little kid sort of stubbornness to it.
Uh-huh. You know, this happened this morning too. I'll mention it. I ran across a facility, and the name of it was Mountain something or another, Mountain Sangha, and its
Right.
address was Mill Valley. Think about it. Mountain Sangha in Mill Valley.
Right, yeah, 'cause, yeah, it's sort of
Yeah, that address is wrong, okay? And when I noticed that, I said, a hot dog? I bet that's the wrong address. Let me go do some research on that. And sure enough, it was in Boulder, Colorado was the right address, not Mill Valley, California. But I was very happy with that. But most people will just, oh, yeah. Or worse still, how did that record get so screwed up? Rather than being very happy that they found that and fixed it.
yeah.
So this is what it's all about, is being able to keep that good attitude. Take that dopamine hit every opportunity. Every time that you recognize that you've screwed up or whatever like that, you can say, hey, I can see that. Hey, I can fix that. But we have to remember. That's what the sati is all about, is to remember, to remember, to remember, to keep repeating that over and over again. So going back to that point about as I clean my hands, I clean my mind. That you could think of, because we've heard the word mantra, but a mantra is almost always said mindlessly. It doesn't mean anything. It's just something that a new piece of trash that gets stuck in the head. So it has to be done in a way of, yeah, as I'm cleaning my hands, I really am cleaning my mind. I can do this. I can clean my mind. So that's the attitude that we have, is that we can keep doing whatever we're doing and do it happily. And that's especially true with practicing anapanasati. That you can remember to clean that mind. You can remember to change that attitude, to gladden the mind, to brighten it up over and over and over again.
And it's always right here, right now.
Right here, right now. And you got a whole lot of right here's, right nows, and so have at it.
Yeah.
You have to learn to rinse and repeat. Wash that mind and then wash it again and then wash it again. Clean that mind over and over again.
The only sanity is to, when you wake up, say, well, yeah, maybe I was mindless there, but you know, you're back at it. But sometimes I wake up and I go, oh well, I was in so much crap, and I'll do it later, and that's just the completely wrong attitude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because and look how many people have that attitude. Oh, the world is so full of crap. Oh, it's really depressing how much crap there is, how many lies are told. It's really depressing to see what the situation with politics, whether the politics in America or the politics in England. People get really depressed about politics. And the right attitude is politics. Oh, there's nothing to it. Let those guys go and play. They're not enjoying their play, but let them go play. We'll manage. We'll be okay. And then people will say, well, what if they change this law that affects me?
Yeah.
And the answer to that is, well, let them play with that law. Somebody will come up and say you can't change that law because you're affecting this meditator over here. And so they probably won't change the law. I mean, they're really, really bad about fixing broken laws. And all the laws that are broken right now will probably remain broken, and we can still be happy. And if they do change a law that affects us, we can still be happy. That they could stop paying the pension. Basically, that they probably don't do that. They don't ever stop paying pensions. What they'll do is they'll change the rate or change the age.
Yeah.
And they almost always do it to new people. Once you're on some sort of pension plan or whatever like that, you're pretty well set. Why? Because there's a whole lot of people that are in the same situation that you are, And if they change your situation, they're going to have a great big explosion. Well, let all of that explosion happen. That's not my problem.
Is the spirit of renunciation essential for practice?
Um, that's an interesting point. The Buddha considered renunciation mundane.
Right.
He did not consider it noble. And here is why. Renunciation is almost always done as a vow in a ceremony.
Mm.
Okay? Like a vow of poverty or a vow of silence or maybe marriage vows or whatever like that. And it's a great big deal. Then, in fact, the reason that most uh, I'm thinking about diets for a second. That if you tell people that you're on a diet, you'll more than likely stay on it than if you keep it secret.
Mm.
And so this is why renunciation is so popular, is because if you have a vow of silence, but you're the only one who knows that vow of silence, then you'll probably break that vow very easily. I was at an ashram, in fact, at one time where they practiced that, but the way that they practiced it was is that you had to buy a sign or make a sign and wear it around your neck, a great big sign here saying "in silence." Because if you announce that you're in silence, then you're more than likely going to keep that silence. But if you say I'm in silence and you don't tell anybody, okay. Now here's the reason why that's mundane. Is because if you're wearing a sign in silence and you've taken a vow of silence and you break your silence, what happens?
You're outed.
You feel bad. You broke your rule. Not only that, but you broke your rule and you got caught doing it because you had made a great big deal about a vow. You were wearing a sign, and here you are talking. Okay, so in fact, renunciation sets us up for failure. So the way that really works is we have to then use mindfulness, use sati. That any time that you're going out in public you have to remember, I'm going to be silent. You have to remember to shut your mouth. You have to remember, you have to develop the skill of remembering to keep your blabber shut. But wearing a sign in silence or taking a vow of silence is going to set you up for bad feelings
Yeah.
because you'll break it. I mean, look at the marriage vow. Do you ever find a marriage vow that's actually kept? That's very rare. Okay, so this is why renunciation, though it can be helpful, I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying that it's a mundane thing to make a great big announcement that I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing because we're setting ourselves up for failure. But if you say it inside and say, oh, like going on a diet, then every time that I look at that hamburger, am I going to take a bite of that hamburger or am I going to set it down? And so that's where the real um, renunciation comes from, is right here, right now. Can you remember to do it right now or to stop doing it right now?
Mm. You've said about bringing wisdom to the present moment rather than living through the rules.
Right. So the vow becomes a rule. And the rule then gets broken and bad feelings come because if you're mindless enough to break the rule, then you're going to be mindless enough to feel bad about the rule that you mindlessly broke. But if you're mindful, that means that you can remember right here, right now, and you can also remember right here, right now to feel really good about keeping your promise to yourself. So much for renunciation. That in fact the word renunciation has to say, I renounce it, has that nounce or that verb in it of speech, of saying it. So to renounce it is like taking vows. It's got to do with verbal. It's made it into a rule now. And that we would rather get the rules to do the job for us, and the rules are not going to do it for us.
Right, exactly. I think actually when I practice correctly, it very much reminds me of childhood. And then I remember getting into adolescence and trying to automate my life through a bunch of rules. And then you would break all the rules and just absolutely
And we feel bad.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a different practice. We have to keep remembering to do it. Have to keep remembering over and over again not to take that bite of that hamburger. Right now, even though somebody served French fries, I have to remember that I'm on a diet. I do not want the French fries.
So do you think there's utility in such a thing as not necessarily a rule, but having an intention to be on a diet as such?
Yes, but can you remember now to be on that diet? Can you remember I've got the intention to be on that diet, not when I'm standing on the scales or looking in the mirror and feeling bad and saying I intend to be on a diet? Can you look at the food that you want and remember it then? Can you see that unwholesome thought and remember right now that's an unwholesome thought? I see you. But remember that misery loves company. One miserable thought gives rise to another miserable thought over and over and over and again. Can you see those miserable thoughts and make a change, even though the making of the change takes effort?
These unwholesome thoughts, I don't have many unwholesome, full discursive, fully fledged thoughts, as in, oh wow, I feel so bad right now. They're like this little image or this little blip of something unwholesome, and I can tell it's suffering, and it sets off a sort of unwholesome mind state.
Yes, that's the whole point. Right. Can you catch that and say, aha, I see you? Can I bring gladness to the grief?
Right.
Can I make that change? Can I come out of my suffering? Can I come out of my grief? Can I come out of it and say, I'm glad I got it. I'm glad I see that grief. I'm sad I see that unhappiness. Because the normal thing to do is when we see that ourselves are unhappy, we say, oh, I'm so unhappy. And you just make it worse. Oh, poor me. And it takes effort to say, aha, I see that. So this is what you're meaning by intention. Okay? So the word intention itself can have the connotation of right attitude. If you have the intention to do something, is it just a thought? Is it a vow? Is it a renunciation? Or is it a change of attitude?
Right, yeah. More malleable as well, in a way.
All right. So why don't we leave it here? Because I think that you've gotten what we're talking about. It's a change of attitude. And the attitude change is, aha, I see you, Mr. Dark Cloud. I see you, Mr. Dark Night of the Soul. Rather than going into it, oh, poor me. Oh, meditation is so hard. Oh, I've noted so much crap.
Right,
How much
exactly.
crap do I have to notice before I feel good? The answer to that is that crap is going to be endless. Can you take the effort to make a big change?
Mm.
And that effort always has that spark of a new attitude. I'm going to fix this.
Mm. Well, this is why I ring you, Dhammarato, to straighten out my neurotic knocks, really.
Yeah, it's absolutely upside down to the way that we've been taught our whole lives.
Yeah, I know. Do you think people have ever stumbled upon, so people that claim to be very satisfied or even liberated outside of a Buddhist context, do you think these people are actually practicing the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, but without a Buddhist
Without
reference?
having the labels, without knowing what they're doing.
Mm.
Okay, that in fact we can think of several different examples. One would be Socrates,
Really?
Marcus Aurelius, perhaps even Jesus. We've had people throughout history. The latest kid on the block is uh, Eckhart Tolle. That he just got tired of feeling bad and he just sat down on that park bench out on the Thames River in that park and he says, I'm not leaving here until I feel good. And finally he decided that he was going to start feeling good. And what did he do? He remembered to take a look at how bad he felt and he made a change. So over and over again, it's that same part of the Eightfold Noble Path. If we don't have that Eightfold Noble Path, then we're not going to do anything. We're not going to change. But that Eightfold Noble Path does not belong exclusively to the Buddha. The Buddha
Right.
even said that it's an old path. It existed. That path was long ago. It's been around forever. He just rediscovered it.
Mm.
Unfortunately, very few people discover it on their own. Most of
Yeah.
the people in the world do it because they've learned it, the trick from Buddhist teachers.
Yeah.
But it can be done. It's possible, but it's very rare.
Mm.
Only once in a generation or so, once in a billion, because it's absolutely upside down to everything that we've been taught.
Yeah, totally. I often just call it sanity. It just sounds like sanity. Well,
Say what again?
I often just I call it sanity. It sounds like sanity every time I hear it. Really.
Mm-hmm. It's actually believable. It is not incredible.
Yeah.
That what's incredible is the way that people live their lives now. But when you see the way that the Buddha teaches, he says, yes, that can be done. It is credible. It is not amazing. It's the end of the maze.
Right. Well, it's been cool anyway. It's been
Hmm.
fruitful.
All right. Well, we'll see you later.
Brilliant. I'll see you later.
Yeah, I really enjoy these calls. This is really great stuff.
Yeah, me too. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye bye.